Hello, Sleuth Squad. Welcome to Let's Talk Criminal, where we delve deep into true crime cases, examining the stories of people whose lives were changed forever by the actions of others. We are your hosts. I am Madison.
I'm Melissa.
And today we are going to dive into the tragic story of Caylee Anthony, the beloved 2-year-old who disappeared in 2008 in the trial of her mother, Casey Anthony, a case that left the nation divided. Was justice served? No, I don't think so. But anyways, let's explore the facts, theories, and lingering questions.
So I remember sitting on my aunt's couch. I think I was house sitting and watching her trial.
Yeah.
And just being in like utter shock.
Yeah.
Utter shock.
100%. Like how, number one, as a mother,
Yeah.
as mothers ourselves, how do you not know where your child is at any given point in time?
Yeah. And
let alone 30 days.
if you have questions, you're like, or you are unsure, there's this fear that kicks in.
Right.
Or in this feeling of, oh my gosh, it's not just a laid back, like, oh, Levi will show up or Elsie will show up. It's a
where
are they?
Yeah.
Where, so.
Oh yeah. No, even, I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't think anything like, okay. I get anxiety about my kids going on camping trips with their father and I'm not there.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
they're in good hands. It's just, I'm not there to completely supervise.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Make sure stupid things aren't being done.
Well, and
during camping trips.
What made us want to talk about this case in particular was the fact that if anyone is on TikTok, I'm sure recently you have seen that Casey Anthony decided to get on TikTok and resurface after who knows how long, and claim to be an advocate for children's rights. And what shocked me, I remember sending this to Madison immediately and being like, oh my gosh, seriously?
Yeah, I think I was in a meeting too.
It was just like, this is our next case, like, how dare she? And after I seen that video, it was just so many people being like, the only thing that I want to hear, or that only thing that I could possibly get from you, is how to murder my child.
Exactly.
That's the only thing that you could teach me that I don't already know, because I'm already a better mother than you are.
Right.
So,
advocate for children.
Yeah. So, let's dig in. As you can probably tell where our feelings stand on this already, but so a little bit of background on everyone. Before the headlines and the courtroom drama, there was Caylee, a joyful toddler who was living in Orlando, Florida, with her mother, Casey Anthony, and her grandparents, Cindy and George Anthony. Casey was a young single mother, and she had a complicated relationship with her parents. Even though they lived together, secrets and deception seemed woven into their life even before Caylee's disappearance. So Casey, mom, was
incubator.
Yeah, mom is a
monster incubator.
Different term. She was born March 19th, 1986 in Warren, Ohio. She was raised in a strict household, and Casey developed a reputation for dishonesty, including misleading her family about even graduating high school. So there's strong number ones, like
strong indicators that something's not right in her brain.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, you mislead your family about graduating high school, so you don't graduate high school, or you're not going to but how, as a parent, like, how are you not on top of? I mean, they still do parent-teacher conferences, and I mean, schools still talk to parents,
especially back then. Yeah. It makes me wonder, with them saying that she had strict parents, that maybe there was something else, that they were more concerned about. which Casey was not an only child, but so maybe their concern was on a sibling, or their concern is teen pregnancy, something
Right.
along those lines, making sure that she's just coming home alive every night and not,
Versus
yeah,
what grades and
yeah,
stuff are. Got
concerned
it.
about that. So she did have a strained relationship with her parents, particularly her mother, Cindy. So, but Caylee's father, so back to Caylee, baby girl,
Baby girl.
Caylee's father, so is unknown. Casey had multiple relationships, including Jesse Grund, Ricardo Morales, and Tony Lazaro. And the identity of Caylee's biological father remains unknown. So Casey initially denied her pregnancy and tried to hide it, but later admitted it to her parents. And some reports suggested that Jesse, who was Casey's former fiance, might be Caylee's father, but it was never confirmed.
And then there's Cindy and George Anthony, the grandparents. So Cindy Anthony, born June 5th, 1958, and George Anthony, born September 5th, 1951. Oh, he was younger. Married in 1981 and moved to Orlando, Florida in 1989. Cindy was reportedly controlling, often clashing with Casey over parenting decisions. George had worked in law enforcement, which later became a point of contention during the trial.
Well, yeah, imaginably so.
Yeah, that one really set me off too. Oh, we'll get to that in a little bit. Then there's Lee Anthony, which is Caylee's uncle. So he was born in 1982, so he's Casey's older brother. Lee had a complicated relationship with her, particularly, I never can say that word, especially during the investigation. He testified in court about family tensions and Casey's behavior.
So when it comes to Casey and Cindy, Cindy was controlling, often clashing over Casey over parenting decisions. And Cindy refused. Oh, I'm sorry. Casey lied frequently, including about graduating high school and having a job at Universal Studios. I don't know how you lie about that. But Cindy refused Casey's idea of putting Caylee up for adoption, leading to resentment. So
Casey wanted to put her
up for adoption, probably because she didn't
think she was ready.
Well, she might have known she was not ready. Maybe with the confusion of the father.
Yeah.
Maybe it wasn't the fiance's
There could have
baby.
been a lot of reasons.
So their relationship deteriorated further when Caylee went missing, with Cindy publicly confronting Casey about her lies. And rightfully so. I mean, I'd be like, where's my grandkid?
Especially after asking and asking and asking and not getting a solid response for a month.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, I'm surprised it took them that long. I'm sorry, but like if my daughter had a child and she came home without said child, I would instantly.
And you're the primary parent.
Like I would instantly be questioning everything. I'd be getting the police. I mean, there's no way in hell I would ever let 24 hours go by without fighting to know
where
my grandbaby is. Yeah, that's just outrageous.
So then there's struggles also between Casey and George, which is her dad. So like I said, George's former law enforcement officer was deeply involved in the search for Caylee. And Casey's defense team accused George of covering up Caylee's accidental drowning, which he denied.
Yeah.
Why would he have to hide anything?
I mean, especially that was just an out. That was an out for her.
Oh, yeah.
Defense.
So then Casey later accused George of abuse, though no evidence supported this claim. I know that even I've seen her mom post a TikTok, and I don't know that it was her mom really posting it. It might have been like one of those ID channels posting it, but it was a video of her talking about how like she was playing a recording that Casey had left, and it was, "How dare you still be with the man that abused me?" and this and that. And she's like, "Your father never touched you."
And it's sad because there are dynamics and situations and cases out there where a child is being abused, whether it's by a father, a mother, a uncle, aunt, whoever. And it's situations like this where you falsely accuse somebody to save your own ass, that really has society doubting these stories that kids come up and tell you. And it's, you know what, listen to your children.
Yeah.
Even if they're 3 or 4 and you're like, oh, they're just making this up because they have a wild imagination at that, listen to your children.
Yeah.
Because your children, when your children are lying.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Most definitely.
It kind of got off topic there a little bit.
So as of 2025, today, Casey no longer speaks to her father. She's still holding strong. Then we get to Casey and her brother. So brother-sister tension. Lee testified that Casey kept Caylee's paternity a secret and frustrating the family.
Well, she didn't really know who the dad was.
Yeah. He also questioned Casey's behavior during Caylee's disappearance.
100%.
And their relationship became strained, though they reportedly have limited contact today.
Yeah.
She's probably just pissed at everyone that went against her.
I'm sorry, but the whole country went against her.
Yeah, rightfully so.
So Casey considered giving Caylee up for adoption, which we had already gone over, and which Cindy had refused. And that later then caused the Anthony household to face financial struggles, with Cindy and George taking out large loans. She had falsely claimed that she worked at Universal Studios, which was exposed during the investigation. And after the trial, Casey largely stayed out of the public eye. But in 2025, as we said earlier, she had resurfaced from her little black hole and claiming to be a legal advocate and researcher for children. What really went on in the Anthony household, the family dynamics would later definitely play a crucial role in how this case unfolded. So let's talk about the disappearance in the investigation. Okay, so July 15th, 2008, a frantic 911 call from Cindy Anthony, so grandma, was received. She tells authorities that her granddaughter has been missing for 31 days. 31 days. Why the hell are you waiting 31 days to say that your grandchild is missing when your daughter and your grandchild live with you? All right. The mother, Casey, had given conflicting accounts of Caylee's whereabouts. Then a shocking revelation. Casey admitted that a nanny, I say admitted, but it's more so like claimed.
Yeah.
Claimed a nanny named Zenaida Fernandez Gonzalez had kidnapped Caylee. But there was one problem. Can you guess what this problem was?
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun. The nanny didn't even exist. So as police unraveled Casey's lies, they discovered evidence in the trunk of her car suggesting human decomposition. Okay. Yay. Meanwhile, Casey partied, posted photos online, and even got a tattoo reading "Bella Vida," which means beautiful life. Suspicious? Absolutely. But did it prove murder?
Nope.
No. Forensic experts weighed in, but even their findings had faced skepticism.
So then we jump to December 11th, 2008, nearly 6 months after Caylee was last seen. A utility worker stumbled upon skeletal remains in a wooded area near the Anthony home. Caylee's tiny body was found in a laundry bag with a blanket. The medical examiner ruled the death a homicide, though the exact cause remained unknown.
Okay, they had search parties.
Yeah.
And her body, her tiny, tiny little innocent body, was found not that far from their home. You would think that they would have searched.
Well, it makes you think, like when they were doing the searches, was she in the back of the car?
But I mean,
when they did the searches, was her body somewhere else? And then they moved her?
they had to have. And even in like the whole back of the car thing, you would think that police would search their property first.
Yeah.
Like, let's search their home, let's search the vehicles, the trunks, whatever the case may be. And it's already been 31 days.
Yeah. But, I mean.
I know.
Yeah.
It's sad.
And it's one of those things, like, now looking back, that, and I'm sure especially the investigators on the case are like, man, if I had done this differently.
Yeah.
Or going forward, a lesson learned is XYZ.
Yeah.
Yeah, not good.
So,
but among the most chilling evidence, duct tape near Caylee's skull. Was it used to silence her? To kill her? Or was it placed after decomposition? This would become a key argument in the trial.
well, yeah, if you think about it, like, let's say Casey wanted to go out and party. All right. Caylee was just a baby.
Yeah.
She was a toddler. Duct tape's pretty wide. I mean,
yeah, that could cover nose and mouth easily.
So who's to say she just wanted to go out to a party, meet a guy, go have drinks with her friends, be some 20-something-year-old, without having any responsibility, and she decided, you know what, I'm going to silence my daughter this way. Instead of just saying, hey, mom, dad,
can you
watch my baby?
Yeah.
So the trial of Casey Anthony in May 2011, the trial begins. Prosecutors claim Casey murdered Caylee to live a carefree life. They argue that she used chloroform, suffocated Caylee with the duct tape, and dumped the body. But Casey's defense team shocks the entire court. They say that Caylee accidentally drowned in the family pool, and Casey's father, George Anthony, retired law enforcement, helped cover it up. Now, could this be true? And if so, why didn't anyone call 911?
But you know what makes me go against that is, why did Cindy call so frantically?
Yeah.
And 31 days later, I wonder that, like, there's no way that, she would be calling, they would just all try to cover that up.
Right.
You would think.
Well, yeah, because you would think that, Cindy would want to.
She could potentially be getting her husband and daughter in trouble.
Right.
And then she would lose all of her family.
Other than her son.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which makes zero sense. And I mean, with him being former law enforcement, he knows what the law is. If it's an accident,
that's completely
different. I mean, accidents happen every single day, all the time. But your response isn't, oh no, we got to hide this.
Yeah.
Your response is, okay, let's try to perform CPR and see if we can't resuscitate and call 911.
Yeah.
So it's very, I have zero belief in
the accidental
drowning.
Yeah.
And I mean, the whole entire trial in general was just emotional and chaotic and so full of twists. And the jury had to decide, was Casey a neglectful liar or a cold-blooded killer? And unfortunately, after 30-something days, 31 days, it gets a little bit harder to determine the outcome.
Yeah, and the possible, the cause of everything, too. Yeah. It's just terrible. So July 5th, the verdict and public outrage.
Oh,
July 5th, 2011, the nation holds its breath. The verdict, not guilty of murder, child abuse, or manslaughter. Casey was found guilty of 4 counts of providing false information to law enforcement. She was sentenced to 4 years in prison, but was released on July 17th due to time served. So, in other words, Casey Anthony walks free. The public erupts in fury. Protests, social media storms, even threats against Casey. How could the jury let her go? They explained the evidence just wasn't strong enough.
I'm sorry. Okay, and I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know these things. But why? I mean, she lied for 31 days.
I mean, I was
She
20
told
years
no-
old at the time when this happened.
Yeah,
And I knew.
yeah. There's no doubt in my mind that she didn't do it. That she did do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that she did do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
100%.
I mean, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to
Figure that one
figure
out.
that one out.
No, I mean, number one,
And no remorse.
none whatsoever.
Yeah.
None
remorse.
whatsoever. Not until after the fact. She wants to show remorse.
No.
But no, while her baby girl, her daughter, is dead, she's partying and drinking and having
She's got a new
grand old time.
boy and new boy toy and everything. Yeah. No.
It's just ridiculous.
So the trial changed the criminal justice landscape. Caylee's law was later passed requiring parents to report missing children immediately.
Which you would think that's a given. I mean,
there should be no time frame. There should be no time frame no matter
I'm
how
sorry.
old a person is.
No.
On reporting
Why?
someone missing. There's the welfare checks. There's, you can't always do a welfare check on an infant or, I mean, I guess you could, but I mean, there should be no time frame on.
Absolutely not. I'm sorry, but like if you know somebody's character and their behavior and their actions and everything else, you should be able to go to law enforcement and be like, look, this is not normal. This is not our daily routine. She has been missing for 31 days. Or in this case, if we want to do an early report, she has been missing for an hour.
Yeah.
She was a baby.
Yeah. Yeah. So life after the trial. So Casey Anthony vanished from the public eye until she resurfaced in 2022 in a documentary. She says she was wrongfully accused, but offers new claims against her father.
Just keeps getting better and better. So the post-trial family fallout. Cindy and George struggled with public scrutiny after Casey's acquittal. Casey distanced herself from her family, living a secluded life. Cindy and George appeared in interviews, including a lie detector test special, to address lingering questions. And Casey resurfaced, blaming her father for Caylee's death, further deepening the family divide. So not only is she going to accuse George of some of the things that we're going to be talking about here shortly, but she's also going to accuse him of her death, of her
Caylee's death. Yeah.
Death.
After she walks scotch-free,
Oh my gosh.
She's trying to find someone and anyone to take the attention off of her.
100%. Well, and I'm sorry, but she got time. So she was only in prison
after she was sentenced. She was there for 11 days?
Yeah.
11 days.
2 weeks?
Yeah.
Freaking ridiculous. So the accusations that she brought forth against George Anthony include sexual abuse. So she claimed that her father sexually abused her as a child, though no evidence has ever been supported by this claim, and George has 100% denied it over and over and over. And you would think that her brother and her mother would be like, you know what, I didn't know. Like you can, I don't want to say you usually know these things, but you know when your child is lying. And if your child comes to you and says, "Daddy's been touching me," you're going to look into it. You're going to investigate. You're going to bring professionals in to be like, okay, what the hell is happening? Like, what is going on? But there was not a peep of it from Casey until after this. Mother had no indication. Brother had zero indication. The brother was only, what, a year older?
Yeah.
So he would have been around the time, like the age where he would have seen
and would have said something.
And would have said something, even if you later on, you suppress things as children and everything else. But let's say later on you hear about this, you're like, oh my gosh, I do remember that one time Dad snuck into her room, or I heard her crying and Dad walked out, or whatever the case may be. It's completely heartbreaking that a daughter would go as far as accusing her father of something that he did not do,
just to try to get the attention away from her.
To get the attention away from her, or to get the oh my gosh, I feel so sorry, for thinking that this mother could have done something to her child.
Yeah.
It's all of it is just happening, and it's ridiculous. And I'm not saying that there aren't situations out there, because there are situations out there where kids are terrified to say things.
Oh yeah.
They're afraid to say things. But there are always signs, and it's the parents who choose to ignore it. It's the parents who ignore those signs. It's society who lets those kids down. There's been times where kids have gone to school with bruises, and teachers don't say or do anything.
Yeah. You got to have a good school system, good teachers that are looking out for the children.
Yeah, but not everybody's that lucky.
No, you got to get lucky.
Yeah, not everybody is that lucky. I remember, like, when I was in school, elementary school in Dallas, I vaguely remember certain things that have happened to me from that time. I had to look at, like, past medical records to, like, fully understand what had happened to me. And it wasn't there. Like, I never felt safe there. I never felt safe at school. I never felt safe in Dallas. I never felt safe. When we moved to Wisconsin for 6 months, because we went during winter and it was cold, we learned real quick that that was not the place for us. But when we went to Wisconsin, it was at that school that I started to feel safe. And it wasn't until, Havasu, like when we moved out here when I was 9, that I felt truly safe, and I began to find my voice, and I began speaking and talking to people, and now you just can't shut me up. But it does take a toll on it, and mind you, mine was never sexual abuse.
Yeah.
Not at that age, but it's everybody handles trauma and stress and things differently, but there are always signs.
Yeah, 100%. So another theory that Casey threw out was the cover-up theory. Casey alleged that Caylee accidentally drowned in the family pool and that George staged the drowning to cover up potential abuse. So then she blames him for abusing Caylee. Some
question. Okay, sorry, I was just thinking about that. So she accidentally drowned in the pool, but George staged the drowning. How do you? I mean, does that not that seems very contradictory?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So in a suspicious behavior about that was that Casey described a moment when she saw George holding Caylee's lifeless body, blaming her for the child's death and not calling 911. But a lie detector test in a 2024 televised special, George Anthony was asked about concealing Caylee's whereabouts and struggled to answer. So experts cautioned, I guess, against misinterpreting his hesitation. George has denied all allegations, calling them outrageous and appalling, and he has expressed deep emotional distress over Casey's claims, stating that he still loves his daughter despite the accusations.
And then, so I mean, I can honestly, I can understand as a parent, you're always going to love your children. I mean, that's really pushing it though. Like I don't know how I would react in that situation. The fact that he, still loves her despite the accusations, and I mean, I've got family members where I have an uncle who's somewhere in Florida. Florida, go figure. He's somewhere in Florida. My grandparents were amazing. They practically raised myself and my sisters. They were absolutely wonderful people, best people I've ever known in my entire life. He turned out to be an alcoholic, an abusive asshole. And it sucks because he's got two kids, he's got twins. So my cousins, and I don't have a relationship with them because they want nothing to do with this side of the family because they think that something happened in his childhood or whatever the case may be to cause his behavior and his actions. And sometimes nothing has to happen. I mean, when you are growing up in the 80s and you're doing drugs and whatever and drinking, that shit messes with your brain.
Oh, yeah. Any form of drug and,
It
alters
yes.
your chemical balance, and it doesn't have to take a whole lot. I mean, even I forget who I was talking to. I was talking to Trish at work, and we were just talking about medication.
Yeah.
But we were talking about how I think it was Trish. I was talking about how like the dogs have like puppy has a gummy that's supposed to help with their itching and stuff like that. And it was just not a strange conversation, but it really put things into perspective. You can get a whole bottle of Advil, and or say not we won't use Advil, a whole bottle of like a kid's vitamin gummy.
Right.
The gummy is made, and then they sprinkle stuff on top of it. And even though it's all in the same batch, some of it's going to have more medication in it than others. So you're going to get, one day you may get a pill that has too much medicine.
Right. And the next day it doesn't have enough.
And it doesn't have enough. Yeah, exactly. And that's the risk you run with taking medications and vitamins and things like that. Like, not every single pill, unfortunately, is going to be the same as the one before.
Right.
And so, that's where you see these accidental overdoses and things like that. Like, because, yeah, you could take the same amount every day and then you get a bad batch.
Yeah. Well, and not only that, but like, I mean, so back when I was in high school, I was a partier. Granted I didn't do hardcore drugs like coke or anything like that. I've done ecstasy. I've smoked weed and I've drank, and I've done shrooms. But nowadays, even back then, like you could smoke some weed at a party and it's laced with coke or whatever the case may be. Now everything's laced with fentanyl.
Yeah.
You have no idea what is in the drugs nowadays.
Yeah.
And that's what really, I mean, that scares the crap out of me with us having kids.
Think about, back in the day.
Oh God.
They didn't even know what they were even doing. half the time.
No, I mean, I went to parties where literally you bring whatever medication you have and you found in your house, you put it all in a bowl and you grab one.
Yeah.
Really stupid, by the way. Do not ever, ever, ever do that. Should probably move on from that topic.
Yes. Okay. So
these allegations remain highly controversial, with no legal action taken against George. And to this day, no one truly knows what happened to Caylee Anthony, which is so heartbreaking. I mean, that little girl deserves justice. I mean, everybody deserves.
Like I said, justice, I just remember my jaw just being like on the floor, like, are you serious? So it really does suck because, there's such an innocent life
taken way too soon.
Like if you had other things to do there, she obviously had her parents that could have watched them instead of this fake Zanny the nanny is what I've heard her be referred to.
It's true.
It's super heartbreaking.
Well, and at that point, it's I hate to say it, but that baby should have been given up for adoption.
Yeah.
And
I bet, Cindy now is wishing
that she had done that.
That she had let her do that.
Even if it was so much as Cindy adopting her.
Yeah.
You know what? Kick Caylee out. She doesn't want to be a mom. Don't let her be a mom.
Could have had such a different outcome.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be here sitting talking about it.
No. We would probably be talking about a different murder. Because murder happens every day.
Yep. So the case of Caylee and Casey Anthony remains one of the most debated in U.S. history. What do you think?
She did it. Sorry.
Was justice served? No. Share your thoughts on social media and let's continue the conversation. Until next time, stay curious, stay critical, and keep seeking the truth.
Bye.